Hey, everybody, welcome back to Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion live stream, where sometimes we are painfully live and bring you the newsiest pieces of the day. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, which is just crazy to believe that we're actually and already in October here in Ontario. At least it was like October 1st hit, and all of a sudden fall is upon us. We've been loving the warm summer weather into this fall season. I am your host today, Tamara Ugolini, and I am joined by my co-host, colleague, and friend, Alexa Lavoie out of Montreal. We have a ton of topics to hit today and a lot of clips to show you. The news cycle is always crazy, but it feels especially so this past week because we have had a few reports that have gone absolutely viral, and we're going to keep talking about them. So we also have some comments from Pierre Poilievre, leader of the official opposition, the Conservative Party of Canada. He speaks out about the ostriches, ? Other Conservative Party members and representatives have. But we'll get into what Poilievre said exactly, or rather didn't say. Some backlash against the based Ontario provincial police officer that was called on me for, telepathically trespassing. We'll get into that. And Alexa's damning expose of an Antifa cell in Canada's military. These are absolutely crazy stories. So I guess right off the hop, Alexa, maybe we should just get into the ostrich farm stuff because people are waiting. I'm waiting with bated breath. The ostriches are still alive. So let's just get that out of the bag. Drea, our British Columbia correspondent, has headed back up to the farm in rural Edgewood, British Columbia, where 400-ish healthy ostriches face imminent cull orders by the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency branch of the Liberal government, of our government, who currently is overseen by the Liberals for the last disastrous decade. And so there's a lot of things in this story that don't make sense, but it hinges on primarily property rights and animal rights. You'd think that PETA, the animal rights activists, would be all over this story, but oddly enough, they're just silent. And so this happening is in front of the courts currently. So there's been an ongoing legal battle over the last roughly 9 months when the birds were first ordered to be culled back in December. And the farmers have repeatedly asked, hey, why our birds are healthy? No other birds have died since December. And can we just retest them? Can you retest them? Will you allow us to retest them? They've had a lab reach out and offer to cover the cost of testing these birds for the avian flu and other infections. Their eggs have provided valuable scientific research for things like the avian flu and perhaps even COVID-19. And so there's a lot of things that just don't add up with this story. But the CFIA is like, nope, we're going in for the kill. And these birds are anywhere from 200 to 350 pound prehistoric animals. These are just a small, and technically, I don't even think they're classified as poultry necessarily, but they're non-flight birds. They're massive. And Drea has just become more equipped to cover the story because it is on a rural farm and there's not a lot of amenities there for people who are basically just off-grid camping out. It's an absolutely wild story. And right now it's really in the hands of a judge whether or not they will order to proceed with the cull, which the CFIA has taken over the segment of the farm where the ostriches live. They've taken down all the farm security cameras, reportedly actually destroyed them, not just kind of blocked them temporarily, destroyed the security cameras. The allegation is that they're building this hay enclosure and wall that they will kettle the birds into and herd them into, where the cull is presumed to be imminent. Or the judge will side with the farmers and say, something maybe like, no, we'd like to test these birds before you proceed with this cull and answer some of the questions that they have and uphold their right to conduct their research, their farming, maintain their own property, things like this. So there's a lot in the balance here. And people have been upset because Pierre Poilievre, as I mentioned, leader of the opposition, has been painfully silent about what's happening with these birds. And so finally yesterday, a reporter point blank asked him, what's your stance on the birds? And this was his response.
What is your official stance on the ostriches in British Columbia and the culling order that they are facing?
Really incredible that the Liberals have caused so much, because of Liberal incompetence, we're in this mess. And when you have an incompetent government, you have messes like the inflation crisis, like the crime crisis, like the border crisis, like the investment crisis, like the fastest shrinking economy in the entire G7. When you have an incompetent government, you get lots of these messes.
Wait, on the ostriches, sir. Sir, you didn't say what your stance is on the ostriches. Why won't you answer your stance on the ostriches?
I just did. I said the Liberals are incompetent. That's my stance.
Do you support the culling order?
Can I just...
Can we get your reaction? I don't know about you, Alexa, but I am deeply embarrassed for the Conservative Party of Canada and the criticisms that they continually face. You know, that the Conservative Party of Canada is spineless. They don't take a stand against things when they should. They wait until polling comes in or wait to test the waters. And this is a story where Pierre Poilievre, I believe, had a real strong opportunity to denounce what is happening and advocate on behalf of the thousands, perhaps millions of Canadians who agree that this call order is unjust and a grotesque overreach by an increasingly totalitarian government. And he wasted it away with your standard liberal adjacent deflection. It was so deeply embarrassing to watch that.
But first of all, also, I want to speak to the viewer. If you want also to react to that and you want to send us a super chat, please feel free, send us a couple of bucks via a super chat so we can actually show it on the screen. And in the same time, you are encouraging and supporting our journalism. But I was deeply like sad to see that he had a huge opportunity to say something, to take a stand for those animals. Those animals are healthy. Those animals didn't do anything. And as you say, he's always defending property rights and personal, like individual rights. But what about animal rights? Those animals is the property of, sorry, I don't remember the name of the lady, but
Katie Pasidney and her parents.
Yeah, it's their bird. This is opening such a window to the Liberals to now come into your house and deal with your own property and your own pet. Can you believe this? If the judge is not siding on the side of birds and asking, we retest them, and if they are healthy, we are not going to kill them. This is opening a huge window for violation of private property.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I should mention, Andrea's done a few reports on this. And if you want to catch up on this topic, if you're not quite sure what we're talking about, if you want to find out more, we have an entire website dedicated at savetheostriches.com, I believe it is, or .ca. I believe it's .com. Savetheostriches.com. And Drea has interviewed Conservative MP Scott Anderson about, and he has been, firmly denouncing this. He's been requesting that the Liberals explain and justify this culling order. So he has, there are members of the Conservative Party who have been advocates and outspoken about this and trying to demand accountability and answers. But we're looking for leadership. This response, this deflection, as I said, was embarrassing and so disappointing to see. It's like Aaron O'Toole 2.0, really, when he, refused to take a stand against the COVID handling, the pandemic response, and he was just kind of going along instead of providing actual opposition, which is the entire role and basis for having an opposition party. This feels like Aaron O'Toole 2.0. And so I don't know if Poilievre just hasn't refined his talking points, but what a missed opportunity there to really take a stand and have a moment to denounce what's going on and demand those answers and get more public attention and scrutiny on what's happening here. Just a complete embarrassment and wasted opportunity from what I see. I mean, even we have the British Columbia Premier David Eby saying things like wanting more answers around this. But David Eby's kind of been typical political speak, flip-flopping, and there's an alleged assault now that has taken place against, I believe, the neighbor of the farm, who was apparently punched and had gas doused on her. I don't know how accurate these reports are, but nonetheless, of course, the mainstream media has completely run with this, and they're calling the ostrich farm supporters now ostrich convoy supporters and the mega birds, and that rhetoric is heating up in the mainstream. And we have a clip to share with you here from BC Premier David Eby saying that this alleged assault is alarming.
On the ostrich farm alleged assault, obviously this is incredibly alarming. I just hope that everybody can help work to take the temperature down here, and I hope this victim is okay, as okay as possible in the circumstances. Nobody wants to see violent attacks like this. And it doesn't serve any interest anywhere, regardless of where you are on the issue. And so I send my best wishes to her and encourage everybody to maybe take a step back and a breath and focus on what really matters here.
Yeah, and so Pierre Poilievre he had an opportunity there to bring that temperature down. He could have said, the judge has ordered a stay. So that's a stay, basically a pause on the proceedings while they grapple with the lawyer, Katie Pasidney, and her parents' lawyer, Omar Sheikh. He has submitted this stay application for the courts to reassess this call order and, again, try to just get some more justification, some more answers, and get them tested instead of just indiscriminate, kill them all kind of ideology that seems to be plaguing the CFIA. But Pierre Poilievre had an opportunity to bring down that temperature. He could have said something like, there's a stay order been issued, get off of their property and wait for the judge's decision. Instead, the CFIA has continued to execute. They do have a warrant to be on the property, but they have continued to execute that warrant to retain ownership, even if just temporarily, of that property, of those ostriches. The owners aren't, it's in the CFIA's hands. The CFIA is taking care of those ostriches. They're supposed to be maintaining this farm, maintaining the livestock, and feeding and otherwise caring for these ostriches. And that in and of itself brings a lot of questions. Will they do anything to sabotage those efforts? Are they feeding the animals the correct feed, enough amounts? Are they getting any care? Some of the birds were so frightened by the CFIA's response and the drones flying overhead and the commotion on the farm that they reportedly were running into fences and getting stuck on things and just running around, to use the analogy, running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and some of them injured themselves as a result. And so are they receiving adequate care by the CFIA, who wants them dead? Pierre Poilievre had an opportunity to denounce all of this and call for the CFIA to back off, call on the Liberals to provide answers, even to say why they won't test any other birds in the, I think it's 250 days now that they've been healthy since the original herd was, I guess, sick with the avian flu, because this is quite literally an outdoor space. So they have birds that fly in from all over. So the whole thing is a mess. Pierre Poilievre didn't seize an opportunity to really take a hard stance against this, and that is so embarrassing.
It's also embarrassing because, you know, I'm from Quebec, and if you ask like someone in the street about ostriches, everybody would be like, what are you talking about? Because there is no mainstream who did dare to talk about it and talk about what is happening with those animals. And I think it is outrageous that there is 400 ostriches who are facing now death because of like supposition that they might be sick. When how long it's been from the first time that they say that they are going to execute them, and now if they were
250
sick,
days, yeah.
if they were sick, those animals would probably be dead by now. So I'm sorry, but I think it is justified to ask a retesting, especially because the cost will be covered by a company who offer it. So they are not going to spend more money from taxpayer to know if they are healthy or not. There is something way bigger behind this. If they are refusing that they have free testing and they say no, there is something way, way bigger behind that. And we have a couple of people who actually like say something about it, and I want just to show the comment right now before we change topic. We have Jilly Papers, $5. Thank you so much. It's just the person say, Pierre, please grow a pair and help to actually save our country. We have also Billy Howard, $5. Thank you. It's a PP, probably Pierre Poilievre, is in pharma's pocket. It has bird flu vax ready for release. As long as the immunity ostriches are alive, pharma profit will be billions, but only if the ostriches are culled. What do you have to say about that? Because you're the expert in pharma.
Well, I don't know about expert, but Drea has actually covered that. And, you know, we have this brand new millions of dollars of government subsidies and investment into the Moderna facility in Quebec that has just opened, I believe, within the last, well, definitely within the last year. I can't remember the exact date that it opened, but just recently opened this Moderna facility that will focus heavily on mRNA. I hesitate to use the word vaccine, so injection development, you know, research and development. And Drea has done an excellent job covering and kind of contrasting that with what's happening with the research that is being done with these birds, and specifically their eggs, and how rich they are in antibodies for various infections. So yeah, if Pierre Poilievre is in pharma's pocket, then it makes sense. But it doesn't change or negate the fact that he could have just easily said, we need to know why the Liberals are demanding this cull order and why they simply won't retest even just one of these healthy birds. And if it shows that they have robust immunity and they have antibodies and this research will be valuable, then what are we doing here? And so it again was just a complete wasted opportunity. And I think such an embarrassment for the Conservative Party of Canada. But their messaging and, you know, things have not been keeping pace with the public's temperature and what the public wants to see from the government moving forward with various other issues plaguing this nation. But he was asked pretty point blank, pretty straightforward. What's your comment? And he took a page right out of the Liberals' playbook and just deflected.
It didn't have just one opportunity. The question was asked again and again.
Yeah.
And he didn't take all the opportunities.
All right, we have another couple ones coming in. Alex Greer gives $6.99, thank you, and then another $2.79 says ostrich power. Yeah, you know the funny thing, I'm not even an ostrich fan, and so I'm waiting here. What's going to happen with the ostriches? I think a lot of people are just in that boat. They're like, we don't necessarily care about ostriches, but a lot hinges on property
Freedom.
rights and the rights of farmers to conduct their farms and do so without the heavy hand of government intervention. We have some other super chats also that came in. I think these might have been from yesterday or maybe before the stream started today. Silver Feet gives $5. And Alexa, maybe you know more about this, but it says day 4 Franco Queer. Maybe I'm reading this incorrectly, but project name Training, Demystification, and Empowerment Project for the Respect and Inclusion of 2S LGBTQIA plus Francophones in Ontario fund amount. And it's a $1.1 million. I'm not quite sure. Maybe there was a link there that was included, or this looks like obviously it's some sort of project being funded by the government.
If you know more about it, please feel free to send us
There's so many.
an email. My email is alexandra@rebelnews.com. So if you have anything, and at everybody, if you have story or anything that you want to share with us, please feel free to send us everything, all your story, and we will do our best to cover what is the other side of the story for us. And that is a good story also for telling to our viewer.
Silverfeet also gives us another $5. Thank you. Congrats to the Rebel team. You all have penetrated an educational institution in the Lower Mainland, British Columbia. A student got a lawyer prof to crack and admit to censoring taking place. The guy even said Ezra's freedom of speech line. Well, that's great. If you have a clip or anything else to share with us, also please do. Thanks for letting us know. I'm so glad that Rebel is reaching far and wide. Okay, let's take a quick ad.
Quickly, we have also Dougal Afan 69, $5.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a Canada Post own 91% of Provolator. The executive make millions in bonuses. They claim to lose dollars over the last decades, yet have kept the same management, 100% corruption. But, you know, Canada Post, there is a lot to say about it, and especially starting with the fact that, I don't know if it's the same for you, but we have like all the time also strike, and we don't receive like our letters, and there is so much to tell about Canada Post, but I don't know if you know a little bit about it. But we could have a big company, you know, when we look at the big posting company or worldwide who are increasingly getting bigger and international, in us it's just because of the union and how it's being managed. It's not going to happen at all. That there is no opportunity there. It's all being controlled. It's all being this is my point of view, but I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, the strike is happening across Canada. Canada Post is striking, and since it's a Crown corporation, that has affected mail all across the country. And I mean, the Canada Post is really, and sadly, I mean, I do think there's value in a Crown corporation like mail delivery, but they just have not been able to be innovative and keep up with the times. And the government is basically bailing out the entire business perpetually. And by the government, obviously, I mean our tax dollars, and that isn't sustainable. And so Canada Post needs to rejig or refigure out how to move forward in a modern world. And they have continually shown that they are just not able to do that. So let's go to a quick ad break, and then we'll come back for more with an Ontario provincial police officer who was based and stood up for the rights of a journalist, and it really showed how fed up police are getting with businesses trying to use them as their own personal security. So we'll go to a quick ad break and we'll come back for more on that.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
A fun photo booth with keepsakes and a full-on celebration of free speech, independent media, and the community that made it all possible.
Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing fantastic.
Keep at it. You guys have made change as far as I can see. Happy birthday, Rebel News. Let's keep going.
Keep up the good work and keep fighting for freedom. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
We'll also be holding a silent auction, including private lunches with yours truly, Ezra and Alexa. This isn't just a party, it's a celebration of what we built together. 10 years of telling the other side of the story and standing up for freedom. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at happybirthdayrebel.com before early bird pricing ends at midnight on Friday, October the 3rd. And if you want the ultimate Rebel experience, get a VIP ticket that includes dinner with Rebel journalists before the party. Space is limited, so secure your spot right now. Hello, we'll see you there, Toronto.
All right, there you go. So tomorrow, early bird ticket sales end. So get your tickets today or by the end of day tomorrow, ideally probably today, at happybirthdayrebel.com, and then you can get some specialty pricing before that price, and those tickets go up. I think we're over half sold out for the event, so I wouldn't wait if I were you. We'll have live music, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, of course, meet and greet. We'll have photo opportunities with journalists and just an ability to hang out and mingle in person. I think we'll also do a couple small speeches from everyone, maybe 5 or so minutes. But it's just a great opportunity to meet and mingle. It's really is a birthday bash. So we're not structuring it like our normal kind of Rebel events where you'll have a lineup of speakers. As I mentioned, we may come on stage and just do a couple minutes here and there just to thank everyone and tell our Rebel fans a little bit about us if they don't know some of the ways we came into being Rebels, or some of our most recent stories, or stories that are most important in Canadian landscape. But it's not going to be kind of like just sit and listen to speakers. It will be more of a party. So mingling, chatting. At the Calgary event, we were dancing and we had Tamara Leach performing there. I don't know that that will happen necessarily in Toronto, but there will still be music and I believe a small dance floor. So if you want to just come on out and have a good time and meet and mingle Rebels in person, then it's a great way to do that. So make sure that you get those early bird tickets by end of day tomorrow, because I think the venue is already more than half sold out.
And I will be there. It
Yeah,
was nice.
Alexa will be there. We'll have, I think, Sheila, of course. I think that Lise Merle, who you'll often see on the live stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, will be there. She is hilarious. And just, again, a great time to be surrounded by your fellow Rebels, whether it's the people that make our journalism possible or us ourselves. It's always a nice opportunity to have great conversation. Yes. All right. So this report, I think it was spoken about yesterday. This went out on Monday, but this is a crazy, crazy story happening out of Tim Hortons in Picton, Ontario. So that's just south of Belleville. And, it's a small, quaint little community. And there's damning allegations of the manager of this particular Tim Hortons exploiting vulnerable children, a 17-year-old girl, in an attempt to get her to participate and partake in not only marriage fraud, but immigration fraud to marry the manager's brother for $15,000 to $20,000 so that he can become a permanent resident. So as I gather, he's just here on a temporary visa or under the temporary foreign worker program. And so I headed to this Tim Hortons. I went to this Tim Hortons over the weekend to interview the uncle of the young girl. He actually is more of a father figure to her. So he is really, he takes on that protector role for this young girl. And he's mad. I mean, rightfully so. But he is not letting this one go. And he's going to protect and advocate for his niece, who had to quit her job as a result of the treatment she received, not only by the manager, who made her feel extremely uncomfortable as a result of this proposition, but her coworkers and her other manager were even like, what's the big deal? Marry the brother. Maybe you'll like him. And then saying crazy things like, oh, well, we know 4 other people. We have all the text messages in that report. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, or you're like, wait, this sounds too far-fetched, go and have a look, because they wrote it all out in text messages and they took screenshots of everything. They showed me everything. And so the other manager and the other coworker were saying things like, oh, we know 4 other people who have married foreigners, brought them into the country, and they've never even met before. And it's okay because no one calls the police. So no one knows that this is happening. And so this normalization of immigration fraud, marriage fraud, the exploitation of children, right? A 17-year-old is a minor, and in my opinion, still very much a child, who actually showed in this story more maturity than some of the adults she was reporting this back to. This is a crazy story, but I want to clear the air here, because what happened, and the report doesn't show everything, because then it would turn into like a 35-minute report, of course. So I went to the Tim Hortons. I wanted to give the employees working there an opportunity to refute the claim against them that the manager's offering $15,000 to $20,000 to her vulnerable minor employees to marry her brother, to bring him in to be a permanent resident. And so I went in, and I think I was in there in the Tim Hortons itself for maybe a minute and a half. I said, hey, I heard that I could start the process to have to marry the manager's brother and I would be paid $15,000 to $20,000. Can I start that process? That seems like, a hefty deal in today's economy. Who wouldn't want $15,000 to $20,000 if you're willing to disavow your ethics and morality? But anyway, so they said, oh, no comment, no comment. So obviously they're aware that this was happening, because they didn't say, what are you talking? Like, it was really weird the way that they said, oh, no, we don't have any comment about that. So they know that this is happening. And then so I left. I went outside. I interviewed the uncle. I chatted with some of the other protesters that were there, because there's some other strange happenings at this Tim Hortons where employees that have been there for, decades, in one instance, 16 years, so almost 2 decades, a manager, I believe she was a manager, was also fired for speaking up against some things that she was seeing happening under new management, if you catch my drift. And so I was talking to some other people outside on the street. And then I was actually just getting ready to head home, and the cops pull in, the OPP. So I thought, okay, this might be interesting. What's happening here? They came over, they spoke to the one protester who I guess had been trespassed from the property. I don't know, a couple of days prior, because his wife was one of the people who was fired for speaking up against some of the things happening at this same location. And so the police thought they were being called because this guy went into the Tim Hortons and broke that trespass order. So he said, no, I never went into the building. I don't know what this is about. And it was a big conversation. And so I followed the police into the Tim Hortons to see what it was about, because they said, well, we're going to go in and see what this call is about, because this sounds a bit weird. And then let's just play the clip. This is what happened when I followed the police inside to figure out why they had been called.
The owner called, but he's not here. So he's claiming that that gentleman who was trespassed came into the store.
Not the gentleman, the lady.
What lady?
The one who's holding the.
Yeah.
Look,
What's
they're
wrong with
shocked,
that?
and so am I.
He said that no one, like, she's trespassing in the private property.
How is she trespassing?
Like, he was like standing in the lobby.
She is an independent journalist. She was never trespassed from this property, and she has her 100% rights to be here. Just because your boss doesn't like the fact that an independent journalist is in here video recording, that's not up to him. She has the right to do that.
I can call him and you can call.
I'm not gonna, no, I'm not gonna talk to him. You tell him that she has all the right to be here. I'm not gonna entertain that. You tell that to Mohammed. I'm sorry if I'm being crass with you, but you relay that to Mohammed, that I'm not even entertaining that portion of it, of this lady being here.
If any media is
It doesn't matter. They have all the rights in the world to do it.
Oopsie, you're not in India.
Right? And that's really what I think, and I can only assume that that's kind of what the officer, where he was headed with that. It was, you know what, this isn't wherever it is you come from. This is Canada. But you don't, right after he finished saying what he was saying there, he turns, you can kind of see he's already shifted his body because he's turning to walk out. The other officer follows him out, and then I follow out behind them. There was no confrontation. No one at any time asked me to leave. No one approached me, said, hey, oh, sorry. There was one other time after I finished interviewing the uncle, I went back in and I got some, we call it B-roll, some viz of the inside of the Tim Hortons. I just stood in the corner and I just went like this, and you'll see it in the report. I used that viz that I filmed for approximately 30 seconds. That was it. It was the only 2 times I was in that location. No one asked me to leave. There was not a confrontation. I didn't speak to anyone other than when I asked the cashier, hey, I heard I can marry the manager's brother. How do I start that process? They said no comment. I left. I wasn't a disturbance. I wasn't doing anything out of the realm of gathering some visuals for this report, which is based on an absolutely illegal happening, if true, of immigration fraud and marriage fraud. The police officer confirms for me out front. This was, I believe, before we went inside, because when I saw them approach, I went up and I said, hey, these are crazy allegations coming out of this Tim Hortons. Are you aware of this? And is there an investigation? He confirms to me, yes, there's an investigation into this. So the fact that people in the comments, because this clip went viral, right? Because we're so used to being treated unfairly by police. And so when you see a good cop standing up for what is just and what is right, it went viral and people were, thank you, finally. And it really restored my faith in on the ground policing. I was shocked. My jaw almost hit the floor when he said, for her, she has every right to be here. You haven't trespassed her from the property. And it's true. They hadn't. No one had spoken to me. A prerequisite of the Trespassed Property Act is that the person has to be asked to leave and they have to refuse to comply. And then that warrants further escalation. Otherwise, what? I'm supposed to just telepathically know that the manager wasn't comfortable with my filming there and that I had to leave? People are unhinged in the comments who think that this officer was out of the realm of what is lawful or legal. He 100% was right because no one had asked me to leave. I wasn't a disturbance. No one had spoken to me. I'm not a mind reader that knows Mohammed is uncomfortable from afar with my recording. He has that place cammed up to the nines. He can go back and look at those videotapes and the recordings. I have my own where no one approached me at all. I didn't cause a disturbance. No one spoke to me. Nothing was wrong. I collected some visuals from my report and I went on my merry way. In fact, if Mohammed hadn't have called the police, I would have been gone. That interaction would have never happened. And I would have never followed the police back in there to see what they were called there about, because they thought they were called there for the other guy who was trespassed, allegedly, who they thought had come back into the property. And when they found out that he hadn't, they said, well, let's go see what this is about. And then all of a sudden, we all come to find out at the same time, it's about me. And the cops obviously are fed up with this location. This is what I gathered from the way that he approached it. They're fed up playing personal security for this Tim Hortons, who's obviously being investigated for some serious criminal allegations happening and taking place at this location. And they're fed up and they're frustrated. In fact, on my way out of Prince Edward County, I saw that same police officer responding to a car accident on the side of the road. And I thought to myself, that's what the police should be doing. They shouldn't be being called to run cover for a manager or a franchisee owner of Tim Hortons when they're uncomfortable with an investigation going on about their location, exploiting vulnerable children for immigration fraud. So anyone in the comments who's more caught up with the fact that I'm allegedly trespassing, which I should have, I guess, telepathically been privy to, and not the fact that Tim Hortons is now being used allegedly as a cover for immigration fraud happening right under everyone's noses, shows you the state of affairs and the lack of critical thinking and intelligence of your average Canadian, because they've got their priorities way backwards and way mixed up if that's what they think the real problem is here. That officer was right. He was justified. He used his discretion. And I hope he gets a raise, because I was so pleasantly surprised and refreshed by his remarks at that Tim Hortons.
By the way, first of all, this whole story is utterly disgusting, but thanks God there is still like good cop who are doing their job and they are standing up for freedom of the press and freedom of free speech, actually. But what disgusts me the most is the company, Tim Hortons. You know, I'm Tim Hortons children. They helped me a lot. They helped a lot of children in the past, actually, who had only one parent, who were struggling a little bit to send children on a summer camp. And to see that now they have let this company turning into a joke, a real joke, where we are saying that it's not Tim Hortons anymore. And probably the real Tim Hortons probably turn into his freaking grave to see what is happening right now, because he was standing for children. He was standing for vulnerable people. People were struggling, especially like when you had only one parent. He wanted to help them. He wanted his company to be Canadian. And now the company is just turning in everything that what Tim Hortons were standing for.
Yeah, 100%. And the guy, the uncle, Matt Monroe, who I interviewed about his niece them attempting to exploit his niece for permanent residency gain, he says exactly that. He says, what a devastation to the legacy of Tim Hortons and everything that he stood for. And I think that is the saddest part for many Canadians, where, you know, we're used to Tim Hortons. I mean, I played hockey when I was younger, and Tim Hortons was such a staple at the arena. You know, it was like the good old hockey game and Tim Hortons. They go hand in hand. They'd be running early in the morning on your way to those early morning games or practices, tournaments, late nights. You could always depend on Timmy's to be open and ready to serve you. And the state of affairs of Tim Hortons now compared to even just 5-10 years ago it's a shell of what it used to be and the legacy and the heritage that it embodied. It's so sad to see. But another thing I just want to point out, we'll move along because I know this was chatted about yesterday, is that that police officer that responded, and I do have his name, and I don't want to see him get in trouble. So I haven't published his name because a lot of people are thinking that he's in the wrong here. And I just wanted to correct the record that no, in fact, he is not. I was not trespassed from this property. I did not cause a disturbance. No one said anything to me unless I'm supposed to be some sort of magic tarot card mind reader, telepathically getting messages from the owner or the management or anyone that I should have left. He 100% did the right thing. And I did reach out to Tim Hortons with some of these damning allegations. They're corporate. Their media responses featured approximately 11 minutes and 23 seconds to be exact, into that report. And so if you want to see how Tim Hortons responds to this, I think it is very telling. And that's about all. This has been picked up by so many people on X, on other social media, on other web pages. It has gone viral. And one person who says that this cop is giving major red flags is none other than TikTok, self-proclaimed TikTok star Rachel Gilmore, saying, and Rachel Gilmore is really this perpetual cry bully. And I reposted this and I say, perpetual cry bully Rachel Gilmore, who can't hold down a job in journalism, by the way. She's always about women's rights and intimidation and violence against women and hate against journalists. And she screams all of these things and talks to the House committees about journalism in light, in the era of hate and bigotry and transphobia and all the buzzwords. Rachel Gilmore just lives and thrives on them. And yet you have a vulnerable minor child, young girl, being exploited by potential marriage and immigration fraud. If those text messages are any evidence, I would say it's pretty clear: marriage and immigration fraud. And instead of focusing on that and denouncing that kind of disgusting, disturbing behavior, Rachel Gilmore focuses on the way this cop is speaking to the workers at a time of rising anti-Indian racism, while repeatedly, almost reverently, calling Rebel News independent journalists, despite a court ruling that they don't qualify as such, as though judges determine who is and isn't a journalist. Mm-hmm. And she says it's giving major red flags. Yeah. Well, Rachel Gilmore, the story is actually about the sexual exploitation of a child. And so maybe you should look a little bit more into that, because that is the only thing in this story that's giving major red flags. That police officer says, he was so Canadian about his whole approach. He's like, I'm sorry if I'm being crass. Like, that is the ultimate Canadian thing to say. I'm sorry, right? And but they're obviously fed up. These police are being taken away from real police work to run cover and private security for a Tim Hortons that is being investigated for serious allegations of immigration and marriage fraud. So Rachel Gilmore, once again, priorities a little bit backwards. And that's all for me on this video. Let's get into your crazy story. Before we hit up some of the super chats that have come in since then. I don't know if we have time for an ad break or if we want to do one. Maybe we should just take a quick ad break and then we'll come back to Alexa's equally as crazy, maybe if not even more crazy story of Antifa being within our Department of National Defense.
There's a lot of work and preparation that has to go into getting them ready for the job market. It's not just about hammering out a resume, it's about making sure that they have the adequate supports. Some people don't often realize some of the struggles that some of these people go through. Not only are they connected to the work, but they're also connected to our whole mission and what we do as an organization.
All right, Alexa, take us away. This is a wild story.
Yes, so everybody probably remember when Sean Ford was planned to perform across Canada, and Park Canada, as well as other woke institutions, tried to actually cancel him a little bit everywhere. And I think the worst part was in Montreal when he was set to perform in the church called Ministerios Restauración, that is actually a church mainly managed by Latin American people. And so we had a bunch of protesters who were protesting in front of the church, but one of the radicals was able to come and pass the police line and enter the church and threw 2 smoke bombs into the stage. He was able to live and get away without being arrested or without being identified. We have his face because he was in mask. So at Rebel, what we did is like we launched a campaign of $1,000 reward for finding that person, because we knew that the SPVM, the Montreal Police, will not have deployed the resources needed to identify that person. So finally, I had some people who reached out to me, and everything that I received led me to the same person, that is Gabriel Lepage. So Gabriel Lepage, who is the alleged smoke bomber, works at the National Defense on a military base in Montreal. And so I was waiting for him to get back to work, because I knew, according to my source, that he was out of work. I don't know if it's because he was sick or because he was on vacation, but since the church incident, he was not at work. So I waited patiently to him to go back to work, and finally he came back, not last week but the week before. And so last week on Wednesday, I went patiently outside of the military base until the end of the day, because I knew he will at one point finish his day. And I questioned him, and I said, if you think you did nothing wrong, but let's call the Montreal Police. Let's identify you, and let's the investigation take off. And so I called the SPVM. I waited for half an hour. During this time, I was questioning Mr. Lepage about if he had any ties to Antifa, if someone who threw a smoke bomb into a mosque or a pride parade, what should be the consequences? And if he believed that the person who did that should be paying for the damage of the church, and if he should face consequences. I saw him texting. He even called the police saying that I was harassing him. And at one point, because we saw that no car of police was coming to us, so he started walking, and I called back the police to say, listen, we changed location. We are going towards this direction. If you can actually come and join us. And so they say, can you please stop following him? You are harassing him. And I was like, what are you talking about? Now you say that I'm actually the one who is wrong in this? It's like, I'm asking you to come to identify a suspect in a hate crime. And finally, at the same moment I was talking with the police, the first thug on bicycle, that is an Antifa, came aggressively and tried to help Gabriel Lepage. He said, hey, buddy, come. And Gabriel Lepage followed them. And then I say, who are you? Do you know this person? Is it your friend? And then he kind of left. And I was with Gabriel Lepage, and I said, listen, we will see each other again. I'm going to give every information I have to the police. You don't want to give me your side of the story, but I'm going to run that story anyway. And I say, we will probably see each other again. And I left. And the minute I left, 2 other person on a bicycle, fully masked, dressing with black clothes, and came towards me and attacked me physically. Gabriel Lepage was able to see it. He was not far from me. And then they left towards Gabriel Lepage, a white car with a woman with a green hair, went there towards Gabriel Lepage, called the thug on bicycle, and then I spoke in front of the camera, and when I turned around, they were all gone. They escaped. And it's been a week. And I called the police yesterday, and they say there is no new development in this investigation. If we did arrest someone, you will know about it. That will be new. But as of right now, they didn't arrest nobody. I don't know if they identify someone because they are not transparent about that case. The Department of National Defense didn't write back to me. I wrote to multiple people inside of the department and in the military base. I also wrote to the union. No email back from nobody. I know that there is Joe Warmington who is working for the Sun, who is also investigating a little bit deeper. He got an email back from the National Defense saying that they are working hard to issue a statement today. As of right now, I didn't see any statement out. I'm going to email them again because I think it's really important. Then the SPVM gave me like an appointment for me to come and give my information, but they gave it to me next week. So they are not really in a hurry to identify that guy, I'm pretty sure, because if you really want to find the person, you will ask me to come today or as soon as possible, but they gave my appointment only next week. And if you look at the footage of me chasing him outside of the military base and the footage from the church, you can see he's wearing the same shoes. It's the same shoes that he's wearing, and the picture is clear. It's the same glasses that he's wearing. So I don't know what will happen, if they would do anything or not, but I'm pretty sad to see that no big mainstream media did actually pick up that story. That is really important. If we have like an Antifa cell working inside the National Defense Department, this is a serious national security breach. We don't know yet which kind of sensitive data it was playing with. We don't know exactly what was his job inside of the department. I'm pretty sure he still worked for the department because apparently last week he was just sent to work from home. So, and I'm pretty shocked because this man probably have access to my personal information or some of my information that he can release to those Antifa thugs. So my safety is at play right now. And the fact that neither the Department of National Defense and the police take that seriously.
Right. And that leads me to question, is there an Antifa cell in our Department of National Defense? This would seem like it's very likely. And if so, how many others are there? We know the United States has just designated Antifa as a terrorist organization. So do we have those people infiltrating and sitting within our national defense? This is a story of national, and I would even say international importance, with serious security implications for this country, for Canadians who are reporting on the tactics deployed by Antifa and their violence and their aggression, and puts the safety of independent journalists just like you, Alexa, and your cameraman Guillaume, and every other person who's critical of the way Antifa conducts itself in the wild and out on the streets, that it puts all of you at risk. And if the police aren't taking this seriously and the military isn't taking this seriously, then why is this person being politically protected in this way?
Yeah, and we need to ask ourselves, why is it taking so long? And I say this is pure speculation, but are they washing and cleaning the computer? Are they doing something to hide any tracks or any signs of any wrongdoing? And again, this is pure speculation, but can we have transparency from our institution, from our police enforcement, and tell the public what is going on, because we want to have answer. So that's what I'm at.
And that's why we're not sending you out into the field anymore without at least 2 to 4 security guards, because your safety has been repeatedly shown to be at risk and be compromised when you are in the vicinity of people that are affiliated with or are directly within Antifa. And so if you want to support Alexa's continued reporting on this topic and just her reporting out on the streets in general, where she faces increasing threats and violence, Rachel Gilmore, where are you on this? You can do so at standwithalexa.com. I see that we're about 3 minutes past the hour, and I know that you and I both have other meetings happening right after
we have
this. So
four big chats.
So we're going to get to these chats, and we're going to wrap this up as quickly as possible. And okay, Margarita Mina, I think that is $10. In my honest opinion, this is a setup. Some circles don't like the direction of the research. Who is the anonymous tipper? Were the PCR honest? Why are all refusing to listen to the independent from CFIA experts? So this is about the ostriches. Yeah, it's really suspicious conduct. That's what we're getting at, and what Drea has been reporting on. I believe it's 9 months now that she's been following this story. And again, if you want to find out more and see some of the background and other things that she has researched along the way, you can do that at savetheostriches.com and kind of click back through all of the reports she's done over the last several months. PSCO Field 10 gives $5. As an American, I don't quite get the Canadian ostrich story. Don't try. We don't get it either. For a country with MAID, medical assistance in dying, is it any surprise that the authorities are on the prod for 200 odd birds? Yeah, it's actually 400 odd birds, which is just crazy, because each one weighs, on average 300 pounds. This is a massive undertaking to try to cull a herd of that size. But no, it doesn't surprise any of us, but it doesn't mean that you should just lay down and take it. And so that's what these farmers are not doing. They're fighting it every step of the way. And we are going to make sure that we tell this story and cover it every step of the way. Same commenter gives $5. Thank you. Follow-up ostrich question. Does the Canadian Charter have a just compensation for private property taken by government clause like the US Fifth Amendment? Thanks. I don't believe that it does. No. The government can, there's some other stories, for instance, when the government wants to expand roadways and 401 and other national or provincial or territorial interest spaces, they will just come onto your property and do it if you refuse to sell it to them. So sometimes, like, farmers will say no, they'll refuse to sell or hold on to their property, and the government eventually, it may take a couple of years, but they'll eventually just push them out and seize it anyway. So no, we definitely don't have the same independent and individual protections that you do in the United States, which makes me want to look further into going there. AMT 60 gives $5. Is Rebel News concerned about Bill C8 and C9, where the feds can delete you from the internet? Yes, we are. There's so much happening right now. It's on our radar. Yes, the short answer is yes. Tamara, did you ever follow up on OS, a psychiatric hospital, still asking for a vax mandate for new staff? No, whatever I reported on in that report, and I think I did reach out to them, never got a response. That was the end of it. There's so much of that happening that it would be nearly impossible to cover every instance of it. Everyone says COVID's over, I'll get over it, move on. But COVID-19 vaccine mandates are still very much alive and well. And that was one in particular case where it was. So, okay. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks so much, Alexa. It was great to chat with you and hear more about this report. I look forward to seeing more about what happens here with the Department of National Defense, because as mentioned, this has massive security implications for the entire country, but also for anybody who's trying to dissent against Antifa when it's justified, especially as the United States has just designated it a terrorist organization. Let's take a page out of that book and start saying, hey, wait a minute, are we really going to tolerate the antics of Antifa on our streets anymore? Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks everybody for all the super chats. Same time and place tomorrow with a new set of hosts from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. And get your birthday tickets because it's going to be a fun bash. Thanks so much, everyone. See you next time.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.